Hey everybody, welcome to this CardFellas Shorty. Today we're going to be talking about all of the big money cards that have changed hands in 2022. We're also going to be going over the Topps Future Stars Club release, the one that just came out. We just got in April, but it's the March release. I think it's got a lot of people thinking maybe it's time to cancel a subscription. Matt, what's going on today?
Hey, how are you doing today? I'm doing well, thank you. Let me ask you this, Chris. What's the most expensive card or the most valuable card you've ever held in your hand?
That's kind of a trick question because I think probably the most expensive card I've ever held in my hand at the time when I was holding it, I think it was for sale for about $250. And that was a Michael Jordan rookie card. Now, obviously, at the time I held it, it probably wasn't worth that much, but now it's probably worth a lot more. That same exact card, hopefully someone preserved it and got it graded, and hopefully it's worth a lot more. So, even though it wasn't worth that much then, I'm thinking it's worth a lot more now. How about yourself?
Well, let me ask you this one more question before we move on. What's the most the highest valued card you've ever had in your collection?
Yeah, well, that's going to be a Tom Brady Bowman rookie card.
Yeah, okay.
PSA 9. About a year ago, it was worth about $5,000. They're selling right now for around $3,400.
Yeah, when we talk about high value cards, that's not our game. You and I are not that guy. We like to work in that $50 to $200 range because that's less drama when you're buying and selling. The most valuable card that I've ever held in my hand was a Kobe Bryant PSA 9 rookie Topps Chrome. That one very similar to Brady. I think at one point it was $10,000, went down to about $5,000, then about $2,500. But other than that, when I held it in my hand, it was probably worth about $3,000, kind of like what you're talking about here. And so the reason we're talking about value is in 2022, a lot of cards of high-end value have switched hands here. And this was an article in Beckett that caught my eye. And there was a time when cards that sold for over $1 million got like the royal treatment, and it got all this publicity, and everybody's like, oh, a card sold for $1 million. Well, so far this year, there have been 13 separate occasions where cards have sold for over $1 million. And we're going to tell you all about them today. And of those 13, 6 of them are Tom Brady cards. And there's the Tom Brady card we're talking about. If you're listening on our podcast, this is the one we're talking about, a 2000 Playoff Contenders Championship ticket, Tom Brady autograph. And the reason this one is fetching over $1 million is it's numbered to 100. 6 of those cards have sold for $1 million or more this year, with the 8.5 that you're seeing on our screen selling for more than $2 million. Are you surprised, Chris, that Tom Brady's on this list 6 times?
Right. It's the same exact card, obviously different versions of it. But what I really wanted to know when I was looking this up is how many of these are out there. I mean, I looked up and tried to find if there's lower graded ones or what's going on. And it's just such a weird deal because in 2000, back at that time, people didn't think much about Tom Brady. So just imagine today pulling an autograph card of a 6th round draft pick and what you would do with it.
Book.
I just wonder, how many of these cards actually exist and they're still in good shape.
Yeah.
And how many might still be in a wax box somewhere. Obviously these wax boxes are probably, they're out of our price range, but there's got to be guys that have them stocked somewhere in a closet or somewhere. But I just think that probably a lot of these cards just kind of got, handed to the kids or something, and now they are multi-million-dollar cards. So
yeah, it's really interesting to see and think about that. I thought the same thing. There was only 100 of them.
Yep.
And we don't really know exactly how many are out there and who has them. So let's move on to the next one. Kobe Bryant. This is a 97-98 metal universe, precious metal, gems Kobe Bryant. Again, this one is numbered to 100. Don't know how many are out there. This one sold for $2 million. 2 LeBron James cards, same card, sold for over $1 million. This is the 2003-2004 Exquisite Collection LeBron James patch auto, numbered to 99. We talked about LeBron James cards being undervalued. This is 1.57 million and 1.39 million, those two cards sold for. But again, LeBron is not signing anything past 2005. So you're going to have to go back to that era to find an autographed card on an Upper Deck card because of the exclusive deal he has there. So that's why those cards are over $1 million. And this next card, Chris, I think you can find this at the National if you looked hard enough, and maybe somebody would let you hold it. Because I know we saw a few of these when we went to the National in Chicago.
Yeah, we saw a lot of them, and it was interesting how many packs were out there too. Like, it's amazing that there's still unopened packs from 1952 Topps. But
yeah, the old Mickey Mantle. So that one was a PSA 8, and it sold for $1.5 million. I don't know if you saw this, and this is something you can Google if you're listening on the podcast or watching on the YouTube channel. We did not pull a video of this, but there's a picture of Mickey Mantle's son holding he's got the cards of his dad like flushed out like he's holding a deck of cards with all of his dad's like old cards. It's really cool. And he had a couple 52 Topps in there as well that were graded. I didn't see the grades on them, but it's just one of those things where, an icon's dad holding his dad's card. It's kind of a cool picture. Let's talk about the next card. We have a Pele card. You into soccer cards, Chris?
That would be a big negative.
Would you ever pay $1.33 million for a Pele PSA 9 card?
Well, you used to be able to get McChickens for 99 cents. I'd probably go with 1.33 million McChickens over one Pele card, but I make a lot of poor decisions.
Yes, we do. Speaking of which, you should have spent $250 on Michael Jordan rookie card. But
Right.
That's hindsight is 2020. Let's move on to the second to last one. This is a Joe Doyle card. You ever hear of a Joe Doyle? This is the Piedmont card. It's a PSA 2, and this one sold for $1 million and just over $1 million. And this should come as no surprise to anybody, but the highest priced card to sell so far in 2022 is the Honus Wagner T206 card, the Sweet Corporal, $3.13 million. And that's a card that I would love to see in person, even if it was through a glass with security guards around me. I would just like to see that card. And that's something that I don't think will happen, but it's one of those things that, when you go to the National, you see some of these cool iconic cards in display cases, and I'd love to see that Honus Wagner in person sometime.
Well, that exact card, you would have been able to sit right next to it and eat dinner, because it used to sit in the All-Star Cafe in New York City. That used to belong to Charlie Sheen, and he sold it to the guy, I believe, who just sold it. So Charlie Sheen didn't pocket all that money, but that was Charlie Sheen's card, and he had it sitting in the All-Star Cafe, and that card was actually stolen.
Yes.
Sold to someone for pennies on a dollar. Before the police kind of finally figured out where it went, and it was recovered and brought back to the All-Star Cafe. But that was quite a story. And I think that card actually, that probably added some value to the card. Obviously, the card is not in good condition. It's really beat up. But, I think there's less than 20 of those in existence. So, Honus Wagner was adamantly against smoking. And at that time, those cards were put on in cigarette packs. So
yeah,
they didn't make very many, and a few are still out there. And I remember when I got into collecting, everybody said, baseball cards, there's one of them that's worth, I remember that card being worth $90,000.
Yes, exactly.
That was a big deal.
And that's what we're talking about here. There's so many more cards selling for over $1 million. So when we talk about the hobby dying, and I think the hobby isn't dying. It's slowing down, but the high-end cards are still always going to be in demand. And you're starting to see that with the ultra-modern cards, too, that have low pops or are numbered lows, 1 of 1s, numbered to 5, whatever the case may be. You're still seeing those fetch tremendous amounts of money. So maybe you're lucky enough one day to catch a lottery ticket, but until then, we'll just be dreaming from afar. But let's talk about the next thing we want to chat about. This is
hold on 1 second.
Okay.
I think there's one more thing we got to talk about with these $1 million cards, though, is fractional ownership. And I think that's one of the things that's really, really driving the costs of the prices of these cards up, is that there used to be a time where if you wanted to buy that Honus Wagner card, you had to come up with $100,000 or whatever it was selling for. But now you can buy in, and basically it's like a stock. And people buy in and they buy shares of these cards. And then, if you get enough shares, then you make the decision on when to sell it, and they vote on it, that type of thing. So it's something where a guy like you or I, maybe we have $5,000 to invest and we want to buy, a chunk of that Honus Wagner card. But it's one of those things that I think it is, even though it feels weird to say that you actually have the ability to buy that stuff, you do, with these fractional ownership deals now. So I think that's part of the reason why we're seeing these things happen in the way that they're happening.
Yeah, that's a good point. And an interesting concept, right? To pool money and own a part of the Honus Wagner card. I want the bottom right. I want the bottom right corner of that card. It's like choosing which piece of cake you want.
Yeah.
All right. So let's put that one. Let's move on to our next topic of the Future Stars Club that Topps has. And I'm going to let you take this away because you've experienced this firsthand and want to get your opinion on it. What you're thinking about, what you've gotten in the past, what you've gotten recently, what you're thinking about for the future, and then just overall, what is it for people who don't know?
Yeah. So the Topps Future Stars Club, I think, was a great idea, especially when it came out. We signed up our son in this in March of 2021 when there really was no way to get retail product. It was pretty much not out there. And as a kid, if you want to open cards, you're going to a hobby shop and paying, who knows how much for a hobby pack. So it's $25 and it's free shipping. They would send you a box of cards, a 5-card set, and kind of like a tchotchke type item. We've gotten like beach balls and like mini helmets and that kind of stuff. This month we got a rubber ducky, a Topps rubber ducky, which is kind of cool. $24.99 a month for this. And again, when we signed them up, you couldn't go to Target.com and just buy some cards. There was nothing out there, and everything was getting cleaned out, and just nothing to do for the kids if they want to buy some cards. But, obviously there's a lot more cards available now. You can pretty much go on Target.com and buy a blaster box whenever you want. It may not be the product you want, but you can get a product of some kind. So today we got our Topps Future Stars package, and we opened it up, and we got this thing, and I still don't really know what it is. It is a hanger box. It is the official trading card of Juventus. And if you would have asked me this morning what Juventus is, I would have said, must be some kind of prescription drug that maybe helps a male. I don't know. I don't know what that is. That's what it sounds like to me, is some sort of prescription drug. But it's an Italian soccer club. And apparently it's super popular, but I don't know about these cards. And you can see usually when we get it, they kind of put it in another box, and the stuff usually gets you in pretty good shape, but there's a big dent in the box as well.
Yeah, I see that.
So pretty kind of like underwhelming.
Right.
But the other thing that came in the set, though, that's cool, and I don't know if I mentioned this or not, but you get a 5-card set, and it's exclusive to the Topps Future Stars Club. And this month, the 5-card set had a Wander Franco rookie.
That's pretty.
And most of these sets are pretty veteran laden. I mean, they're stars and they're cool players. This month's set was all rookies. And as the time that we record this show right now, which is April 13th, this Wander Franco card is selling on eBay for anywhere from $40 to $50. So right now, if you move that card, you can make some money on it. I'm actually going to hold on to it. And the reason being is I don't think there's that many people in the Topps Future Stars Club. It's meant for kids. You can't sign up for it right now.
They capped it, right?
They capped it.
Yeah. And we don't know at what.
We don't know how many,
right.
But I'm going to guess. I'm going to guess somewhere between 20 and 40,000. So when you compare that to with like the Topps Series 1 base card, it's pretty low. And how many of these things are going to get just handed off to a kid?
Yeah.
So I think this card is a card that could potentially be a pretty big deal. So I'm going to hold on to it. And if Wander Franco becomes something, it's just going to be one of those frisky low pop deals.
Yeah. No, yeah. So if people are listening to the podcast, we showed a picture of the card. If they were to look for it on eBay, how would they search it? What would be the
right now you're going to want to
terms?
put up Wander Franco Topps Future Stars #1. It's card #1 in the set of 5.
Is there anybody else in the set that you think could have potential, other rookies?
To be honest with you, I didn't even look at them. They actually packed the 5-card set in a really nice holder that I think delivers the cards in pretty good shape.
Good to know.
And I just left them all right in there, never even opened it up. At some point I'll take them out, but I know it's all rookies, and I remember looking at it this earlier today on a YouTube video, but I don't remember who the other guys were. It's not like any of the big name Bobby Witt type of guys. I believe Gill, who's a pitcher from the Yankees, was in there, and I don't remember who the other guys were. But, the Franco card, like I said, is the headliner, and that one's selling for pretty big dollars right now. But to be honest with you, we've gotten a lot of baseball product in the Future Stars this year. Over the last, we signed up, we've been in it now for about a year, but we've also gotten stuff like UFC and now this Juventus thing. And I'm kind of thinking about opting out of it just because it's not it's not like we can't get cards any other way. So that's something that we'll have to look at here.
Yeah, that's an interesting it was an interesting idea, like you said, from Topps, and it was during a time when product was so difficult to get, and now people can get it whenever they want, however they want. So I'm interested to know what else you've gotten in the past. Is there anything of value that you've looked back on and said that was worth the $25? I got more than what I expected, or was this Wander Franco kind of the first surprise for you?
This is definitely the most valuable thing that we've gotten from the set, and I think that card is probably going to settle in right around $20 would be my guess, is about where it'll end up. Depending on how Wander does, I guess, from here on out. But I feel like in a week or two, that's probably where that card will end up selling for somewhere in that $20 range, because more and more people are going to list, and as they do that, the price goes down. So that's probably going to happen. But I mean, we would get blaster. This is actually the first time we didn't get a blaster box. Every time we've got a lot of the Topps products from last year, the baseball products. We got Heritage, we got Series 2 box, and then last month we actually got a Series 1 blaster. So it's been fun, and my son enjoys having that stuff come, and when he walks in the door and the box is sitting there, he gets excited. But usually what I'll do is take a look at YouTube when it arrives at our door, because we usually get it 2 or 3 days after people on the East Coast get it. They ship them out of Miami, Florida. So you do see them come before us, and I'll take a look and see what's in it. And, like when we got
I can tell you now who's in it. Okay. So I'm doing some research. Matt Manning, Detroit Tigers, pitcher. It's card number 2. Card number 3 is Josiah Gray, Washington Nationals pitcher. Card number 4 is Jarren Duran of the Boston Red Sox. And card number 5 is Brandon Marsh of the Angels. So
I completely missed out when I said Gill.
I think you meant Josiah. That must have been who you think. And I might be wrong too, but I'm like, that's what I think you're right. In my research. But there's some good prospects in that. I mean, not just Wander Franco. And I'm looking at some of the prices. I found this on eBay. Like the Brandon Marsh one's already up to $325 with some bids on it. So these guys, there's some value in this, clearly in this delivery. This is something that you're going to be able to turn into some a profit.
Yeah, if you wanted to, and like even the UFC box when I got that, I think I sold it for $25. So it's never been anything where you've like been stuck. I mean, you definitely get the money that you're paying for it. And like I said, it's free shipping too, which is super nice.
Nice.
So it's not like you ever get something and you're stuck with it. That soccer set felt really like you're stuck with this kind of thing today. But then once you start looking at the other package that came with it, you're like, oh, we did just fine.
Mm-hmm. No, that's an interesting. It's interesting learning. We love to pass that along to our listeners and to our viewers. And we're going to continue to do these shorties. We're going to try and do them a couple times a week just to keep everybody up to date on what's happening in the hobby. We've gotten some good feedback on these, and always tune in Wednesday, 10:30 Central Standard Time on our YouTube channel. We do a live show where we talk about a specific set a year. For instance, we recently talked about the 1978 Topps set from baseball. So we got a lot going on here, and I think the main thing is give us some feedback. What do you want to hear from us? Is there a set you'd like us to look into? Is there a topic you'd like us to get into? Let us know. We'd love to hear from you.
All right. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Talk to you next time.